I just
Bro,
pressed
are you
record.
showing
So shut
Are
that
you
shit.
showing
That's
the
going in the
whale?
podcast. That's going in the podcast. Anyways, hello everyone. This is the War Room podcast. We talk about Warhammer related shit, stuff that we feel like talking about, a little bit of the rules, a little bit of the lore, and yeah, we're just giving it our perspective from our group. I'm obviously Noah. I play a shit ton of factions. I'm going to eventually end up playing all of them because I'm a GW simp. And today with me, I have three friends. James, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is James. I play Death Guard in Thousand Suns.
I'm Michael. I play Custodians and Space Wolves, and I'm studying Alpha Legion.
Nice. And then, hello, I'm Declan. I play Drukari and White Scars, and a little bit of Necrons also.
As everyone, I would have the World Eaters book with me here, because that's what we're going to talk about. But guess what? Nobody gives a shit about me, so I don't have the book. And if you hear us say anything from other YouTubers that you've heard, well, guess where we got our information from? The internet. So if we think of this as a secondary review paper and them as a primary source, so if we say anything, we'll try to reference everybody, but you know, shit happens. Anyways, let's get started. So, World Eaters. I am, as you can see, the World Eaters player here. So, the World Eaters are going to be really fun for me. Has anybody seen some stuff that they want to first talk about?
I watched a few battle reports. Yeah.
Very
The
little
play on
about World
tabletop one was pretty interesting. They ended up losing, but
Yeah.
Angron, did a lot of damage, as you'd
Did
expect.
a lot of damage and comes back, which is the
I think it came back
really
3
fun part.
times.
Yeah,
That's a great one.
Yeah, I was looking at the GW community post, and Angron pretty much can beat everybody in a 1v1 except for Mortarion, which I think is fair. As James smiles, but the nice thing is that, well, although Mortarion might win the battle, Mortarion, I don't think he wins the war when this codex comes out for everybody, because I think World Eaters are going to be pretty damn. They're gonna be pretty fun, fun for the player at least. They're not gonna be fun for anybody else when you're like, whoa, I just killed that big 400 unit piece of shit that killed half my army, and then you go, oh, guess what? Since he died and half your army died, he's back.
Yeah,
So
and it's only
it's-
6 blood tithe points.
Yeah,
like,
6
really
blood tithe
cheap.
points. When he dies, he gives 2 blood tithe points. So
And then the Lord the Skulls that gives 3 when it dies.
exactly, because, well, as we get into it, the blood tithe is probably the part that is the most interesting. And I think it's really good that you can get blood tithe from both yourself and from enemy units that die, because Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. So, yeah, the blood tithe, you get a blood tithe for every unit that dies. You get +1 at the end of the phase for characters, and +1 for characters, vehicles, and monsters, I think. And +1 for Titanic. So if you kill 2 characters, you don't get that extra bonus twice. You only get it once, and once again you get it at the end of the phase. So you can't give yourself the blood tithe bonus halfway through the fight phase, which I think is kind of fair. So to get started off with it, there's a couple of them. There's, for 2 blood tithe tokens, we have a 5-up Feel No Pain against Mortals. I know that probably James and our Demons player hate to hear that, but very, very good for this army. They really don't have any units they don't really have anything to do anything against Psychic other than this and the infusion, but we're going to go over that later. And for a stratagem, we have Warp Blades, so +1 AP and melee for World Eaters units army wide. So That
How
can
much
go
is that?
on Angron. That's for 4 blood type points.
Okay. And you give it to 1 unit
You give it to the whole army.
for the game?
Yeah.
The game.
No. Oh, I thought it was just for the turn.
It's for the
Damn.
game.
I'm pretty
for the
sure
rest
it's
of the
just
game.
for the game.
Plus
Yeah,
1
'cause
AP.
it's plus 1 AP.
Damn.
If I'm getting any of this wrong, once again, I don't have the book, so... But from what I've heard, it
Does
just
WA
seems like it's
have
the
it?
whole game. So... Sorry?
Does Wapedia have it up?
No, Wapedia doesn't have it up.
Okay.
Wapedia won't have it up for a while, I think. Because... obviously, this guy has to go and type everything in to his webpage. Moving on. For 3 blood type points, we have Rage Fueled Invigoration, which is +1 to the charge roll for World Eaters. Personally, I think this is kind of weaker because everything that you really want to get in has so much movement already. Like, the 8-bound have a 9-inch movement. Angron has a 16-inch movement. And, the 8-bound and the Berserkers have stuff for if they get shot, they can make a normal move. So we'll go over that
D6,
a
I
little
think.
later. Yeah,
Blood
D6,
Surge,
and I
whatever the
think
hell it's
for 8-bound, if they're in Red Angels, they make a normal move, so they move 9 inches. So, just some pretty
Awesome.
disgusting stuff.
+1 to
we
charge seems to be
have-
really good over Deep Strike, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Having 3 strategic reserves means a lot of units can come in and then get +1 to charge, so it's just 8-inch Deep Strike across an entire army could also be quite
It's
annoying to deal
gonna
with.
It is definitely going to be annoying to deal with. We have, for 5 blood type points, we have Martial Excellence, which is exploding 6s in melee. That sounds fun. 5 blood type points, well, I don't know how good that's going to be because the other one, which is Savage Guidance for also blood type, 5 blood type, we get +1 to hit and melee, which basically
that
brings your normal 8-bound and Berserkers to hitting on 2s. So that seems quite good, and if anyone is near them, Angron or Karn, they're going to be hitting on well, they're going to be rerolling once, so pretty much going to be getting everything through. Also, I forgot to mention Warp Blades +1 AP for everything. I don't know. It doesn't really seem that useful since normal Khorne Berserkers, I think they're already at like AP2. AP3 seems pretty disgusting, and 8-bound and Angron are obviously really high in AP as well. So who knows? Then we have Total Carnage. I forgot how many blood type points that is. I think it's around 6, 5. It's on the higher side, definitely. 6 to hit, auto wound, and melee. So that's always really nice. One thing I will mention though is that with the Martial Excellence, which is the exploding 6s, it's not like both the 6 and the exploded hit both auto wound. It doesn't. We don't have that roll like we saw in early Votan and in Astra Militarum. We just have the normal thing, and then of course the one that everybody is super excited about is Reborn in Blood, which is Angron comes back.
What are the specifications for Angron coming back? Is it just like anywhere, or does it have to be like outside of 9 inches?
So
Nine
it's at the
inches.
end of any phase, and it needs to be 9 inches away, and of course Angron needed to be in your army to begin with for it to happen. So it's not like, oh, I have 6 blood type points, Angron comes back, and you're like, but your list didn't have Angron, but it's like, but it says. So yeah, so basically if you have 6 blood type points, you can also just wait. You don't need to immediately spend it because you don't lose it at the end of your turn or anything. So you can kind of have that hanging over your opponent's head. It's like, do I bring him back? Do I not? most of the time the answer is just going to be yes. But yeah, you bring it
Yeah.
back at the end of the enemy's morale phase. You put him back. He gets to move. He goes back in. Yeah. Then for the overall trait for World Eaters, we have +1 attack and +1 strength in the first round of combat. So that means if you charge, you heroically intervene. You got charged. It's basically Shock Assault, except better.
Yeah.
So it's strength and +1 attack.
Yep.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So that means, I believe, your average Berserker is making 5 attacks, strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage. And that's without any
5.
blood tithe bonuses. So, yeah.
Thanks.
And one thing that I saw from Tabletop Tactics and I got from watching Auspex, which are 2 really great channels, better than ours, or mine, is that the codex is really nice and simple. And what I'm getting from this is because we've also heard a lot of leaks that in 10th edition all of the rules are going to become much more condensed, that this codex is probably the best look at what we have to what the 10th edition codexes will look like. Really low amounts of rules bloat, really simple to make sure that if you're playing against an army, you're not thinking, so this army I'm playing against, they're either taking one of 16 warlord traits, they have 20 stratagems, they have 10 relics, but 4 world eaters. There are 3 relics, and there are 3 warlord traits, and there are 8 stratagems.
Okay.
So it is
That's very good.
really, really easy. It's the faction that looks like for new players I would now recommend the most, because your game plan is don't get shot, go into them. And you can remember all your rules after 1 or 2 games, because I remember when I started, it was like, I'm sorry, and this does what, and this does what? Oh, there's this stratagem for this. So I like to
It's a lot
see
to
it.
keep track of.
Exactly. So our relics for just World Eaters, we'll see that the relics and stratagems are different for the Disciples of the Red Angels, which is the demon-focused army, which is, I think, really cool. So anyways, for World Eaters, we have Bronze Brazen Helm, I think it's called, and that's what -1 to wound for the bear. We have the Berserker Glaive for a Berserker Glaive that is strength +2, AP -3, 2 damage, and double exploding 6s on an unmodified wound hit roll of 6. And we have Talisman of Range, which is within 9 inches of the bear. A core unit gets auto wounds on 6s. So that's going to be nice. The Talisman of Rage, I think, it's kind of redundant because you can buy it for blood tithe points, but it is pretty expensive. So if you want to just save the blood tithe points and you really know that you're just going to want to use the blood tithe point, the attribute of auto wounding on 6s, this is a really nice way to spend it. The Berserker Glaive, gonna be really nice for a Lord on Juggernaut, and that's pretty much all you can take it on, because most of the units for World Eaters, for HQs, are all named and they all have their own warlord traits. So you're not even really gonna see these, and for most of them, their warlord trait is better than any of these anyways. So Berserker Glaive is cool. Bronze Brazen Helm is yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's -1 to wound. And Talisman of Rage, yeah, it's just good to put a unit on that. So I think the relics are I mean, they're there, but I don't know how much you're going to want to use them. And yeah,
I mean, it's like you brought up, most of the things like HQs are named characters, so you really
so you
can't
can't put a relic on them
anyways.
anyways, which is what I meant to say. Yeah, so if you happen to have one, it's 1 CP. And then the Warlord traits, yeah, once again, it's a named character. You can't really use any of these unless you don't bring Angron and you don't bring, unless you don't bring Angron, who's kind of, they've really made it, this army, so you want to bring Angron, which I support. I think it's a shame that most of the other armies that have really big units, it's kind of very niche to bring the big units, like Ultramarines. You don't really bring Gilliman. I guess
Really?
James can talk on this more. Well, I always bring Gilliman because it's like, fucking, I'm bringing Gilliman. He's a Primarch. That shit's cool. I guess
Yeah,
James can speak on it more.
Mortarian's a bit overpriced for what he does. He's not. It's not that he's bad. He can really kind of stand up just about anything in the game in terms of melee. Has decent psychic and has interesting shooting. But you are paying about 450 points for something that is one model that isn't going to be able to fight everything. And Magnus is extremely overcosted for what he does for that, and he's kind of just a bit of a joke at the current moment.
Yeah,
But Angron
Yeah.
seems to be a nice change to that.
yeah. I really like to see that the big fun unit is kind of a core part of the codex. Anyways, we're gonna go over the Warlord traits anyways. Favorite of Khorne, in your command phase, you get a +1 blood tithe point, which is really good. You get True Berserker, which is half damage versus a Warlord, rounding up, which is also really good. And Battle Lust, Heroic Intervention is now 6 inches, and it gives it fight first. So that's awesome, because if you put it against like around a group of berserkers or cultists that somebody charges and thinks, oh yeah, the cultists or the jackals are pretty damn good, but I'm going to be able to fight first and take care of them. That might not happen, and if they do fight first, you immediately fight right after with your somebody with that Warlord trait. So it's going to be really good. The problem is as we go into stratagems, since there's only 8 stratagems, there are no stratagems for giving an extra Warlord trait or an extra relic. So if you bring Karn, the Betrayer, or if you bring Angron, you don't get to use the Warlord traits. So you don't get to use the main 2 fun HQ parts of the WOLRD Eaters army if you want to use those. So they're cool, but you're not going to use them.
There's also that guy, I don't remember his name, who rides the animal thing.
There's Lord Invictus and a World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut.
One of the Warlord traits is gives someone a pre-game move that's core.
Yeah.
And it's really good for the 8-bound, I think.
Yeah.
And you have to choose which, like, what you're gonna do based on your Warlord, which I think is actually kind of cool.
Exactly. So every kind of Warlord has a different playstyle for the army, which is really cool. I mean, there's only so much you can change because, well, it's a melee army through and foremost. You're gonna have a little bit of shooting, like with this guy if you bring him, and with some of the demon engines that you end up getting. But yeah, if you're trying to put shooting into your World Eaters army, just play something else. So
they will have some shooting options with Forge World, like Contemptors or Leviathans or things like that they can bring in with all that extra CP that you're probably going to just have lying around because you can't buy more than 1 relic or Warlord trait.
Yeah.
So Contemptors maybe could be interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of really interesting units that you can bring, because you can bring pretty much all of the demon engines, from what I've heard. So Helldrake, Forge Fiend, Mauler Fiend, those really big guys, you can bring those. With that, unfortunately, you can't bring Lord Discordant, which would be a really nice buffing piece for those guys, but he's not in the codex.
Makes sense,
I
kinda.
mean, it does make sense, but I mean, Disco Lord, such a cool
Yeah.
model. It'd be sick to see him, but I mean, you have Angron and Karn, so you can't really complain that you don't have anything cool. Yeah, I think something that I'm really sad to not see in the Codex is Red Butchers. As somebody who's played World Eaters for a while, Red Butchers were always a super really fun part of the army. I haven't played them in a while, so I'm pretty sure Red Butchers was basically just give fight twice to Terminators, which was super cool. But that's kind of what the 8-bound are. So
Do the 8-bound
yeah, they've
fight
also
twice?
gotten rid of. Sorry,
Do the 8-bound fight twice?
but they have enough attacks and they hit hard enough where they might as well. The only thing that I think fights twice now is Berserkers with the stratagem. Yeah. So, yeah. There, and it's not really a fight twice, it's a fight on death. So, that's really interesting.
It's so useful.
Yeah, so as we get into that, stratagems, we have Scorn of Sorcery, and that's a 4/4 up, deny a psychic within 24 inches of a World Eater's unit. We have Icon of Wrath for 1 CP, which is, it says here, I wrote down Icon unit gets 3d6 and drop the lowest. I'm assuming that's for charges, because that's the only thing that makes sense. Gory Dismemberment, which I think is going to be really good. For 1 CP, core and characters get 6s to wound, deal a mortal wound to a maximum of 6. That's really nice.
That's really,
Really nice.
that's a good cap
and then
too.
Blood Frenzy is
mortal wound.
also really sick. 1 or 2 CP, a core unit fights on death this phase. So somehow your berserkers get wiped out, they fight on death. So that's pretty interesting.
It's really good.
I know that I've been playing what's it called? Votan, and using the Chthonian berserkers that have that, and it's insane. So to see that on a unit that is more oriented or better at being just an absolute destruction in melee, it's going to be really cool to see.
My Wolfen have that too. It's really fun.
Yeah, I always like shit like
They
that,
always
where
get
it's like,
killed in
oh, you
shooting
think
now."
you've won? Well, guess what? Squash. We have something that's really niche, but's really good if you can get it off, which is Skulls for the Skull Throne. You kill an enemy warlord with a character for 2 blood type points. Or you can give that character +1 to charge and advance, and that's for 1 CP, or you can give it both for 2 CP. So Angron comes in, kills your warlord, all of a sudden gets +1 to advance and +1 to charge, and you get 2 blood type points, and you get another 2 because you killed a character and a unit. So you get 4 blood tithe for killing something, and your warlord is now more powerful.
Dude, that's 2/3 of the way to resing Angron right there.
Exactly, and then if Angron dies, he just comes back.
Yeah, because he
So you
gets
can
2. Yeah, what? That's all.
That's right.
So, my
Yeah,
only thing I'm gonna say is that I think they're gonna nerf pretty quickly for Angron. That first of all, he's only gonna be able to come back once. So if you kill him, he comes back again. But then if you kill him again, he doesn't come back again. And I think they might make Reborn in Blood 8, because A, that's pretty thematic, because 8's core number, and also
6 is kind of low.
6 is
For something
kind of
that
low.
good.
When he gives 2, and he's guaranteed killing a unit if he gets in, unless you're just playing fucking awfully.
Or rolling bad.
Or rolling bad.
It happens.
But, yeah. One thing is that I'm now gonna have to try to convince the group to get bigger terrain, because I want
We
to
have-
hide
we
my
have-
18 wound, 360 point Angron behind something, and not have him just get shot off the fucking board, because we
In a-
have really shitty terrain. We have
in a-
really shitty terrain. Editor Noah here. Turns out that the next 20 minutes decided to get corrupted, which we didn't realize for 20 minutes, so there's some awkward cuts where we have to go back. And there's a couple more awkward cuts in the podcast, so now you know why. Not intentional. Sorry. Let's go through the Skull Throne. That was that. Red Butchers, as I was talking about, is a really iconic unit, but now it's a stratagem to give +1 damage to Terminators and 8 bound in melee. So it's going to be very fun. Basically everything is going to be at base damage 3 if you do that, and just go up from there. Unless of course you're using Lightning Claws on those Terminators, in which case they're one-hitting Space Marines.
What sort of weapon options do the Terminators have?
Weapon options for the Terminators? Good question. I don't know. We have Chain Fists, we have Power Fists.
We have accursed weapons, just like
Yeah.
power
I
swords.
just kicked my desk.
Yeah.
And then heavy flamer and combi weapons. Okay.
Yep. Flamers and meltas and stuff, but you know, I'm gonna put flamers on them because they're just gonna come in and try to cook shit up.
So you can put, at least for the CSM ones, you can put like 2 flamers, and then in a unit of 10 at least, 2 flamers and then 2 combi flamers, or 2 heavy flamers, 2 combi flamers, and
Yeah.
I can imagine that being quite good.
Yeah, and they'll get they will get all of the World Eater stuff because they're going to be included in there. I think they're probably going to have core. And that nice and fun stuff. Then we have Aggressive Intervention. They do a Space Wolf for 1 CP. A core unit can heroically intervene 6 inches. Always really nice.
Whoa.
And then Smoke Launchers for your Land Raiders, your Rhinos, and for whatever weird and wacky smoke launcher unit you have.
Ooh, Daredevil Dreadnoughts.
Yeah,
Relic
woo.
Dorito Dreadnought. Yeah.
If anyone does that, it would be James.
It would be James. I also remember the one game that Jaden played Raven Guard against me, and brought one, and I one-shot it, and he got really angry because he wanted to use the funny unit, and I one-shot it with my Obliterators. With the old Obliterators, the 8th edition Obliterators, because that was one of the games I played World Eaters against him, funnily enough. And I rolled like a 6 for everything, so... Old Obliterators were either the fucking best unit out there, or a piece of dog shit that you just spent 90 points on for each model, so...
Do they not have the dice roll for like strength, damage, attack thing anymore?
No, there's 3 different profiles. So there's a long range, a short range, and a medium range. So anti-infantry, anti-elite, and anti-heavy. So, which is better, but
yeah,
you know,
not fun.
Not fun. There's some stuff that's fun to roll for the amount of attacks, like that, and then there's stuff that was not fun to roll for, like the Demolisher Cannons on Lehman Russes in 8th edition, where it's just like, the only thing in my army that can do anything. Will it do something? Roll. Oh, I guess my tank gets 1 shot. Fuck me, I guess. The turret weapons could shoot twice, though, if you moved within half range, which was fun. I remember my Punisher Gatling Cannon squads shooting 40 times per thing, but then they were hitting on 4s and yeah, so just stuff. Anyways, this is World Eaters episode. Those were the stratagems. We went over the warlord traits. The special warlord traits, though, I guess I should quickly go over. So for Angron, it's a 6-inch aura of no obsec, which is really good. So basically, you charge that into their troops, and they don't get any more obsec. We'll talk a bit more about Angron's special fun things. Karn gets if 6 enemy models are within 3 inches of him, he gets an extra D3 attacks. And as you were mentioning earlier, Michael, that's Lord Invocatus that gives the 9-inch pregame move to 2 World Eaters units, not 1.
Bruh.
So yeah, 2 units of 8-bound.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
2
was
units
gonna say,
of
move up the big
an
8-bound.
exalted squad of 8-bound and squad of normal 8-bound. Move that
What's
shit
the
up.
Can
max
you do it
size
with
squad
Angron?
for normal 8
No,
pound?
I don't think Angron's cool.
I don't know, obviously, because I don't have the book. I think for normal 8-bound, it's going to kind of be like the
No shot. Angron's
Death
cool.
Shroud and
I
Blight Lord kind of things, where you can bring either
And
5
also,
or 3.
Angron needs to be your warlord.
Yeah, Dash Shroud are 3 to 6, and Blood Lords are 5 to 10.
I
So
think
3
it's
to
going to be
6
like
is solid.
that, but yeah. A squad of 6
Okay.
exalted 8-bound, it might be the scariest thing in the whole game.
It seems like World
I
Eaters might have a really hard time filling out their like a 2,000 point list with
Well, I
like
mean, Jackal's it.
Well, they have so
There's
much
Jackals.
stuff that they can use from Chaos Space Marines.
That is
So,
true.
There's going to be
Human
random
engines.
I've heard a lot
stuff
of
that you can
people
use.
talking about just
But
Jackal
if you're
spam.
trying to just use the new units, it's going to be damn near impossible because it's just going to be stuff. Also, rule that I forgot to mention: you can't bring more Jackals than Berserkers, which I think is good.
Thank God.
You
Yeah.
can't just run 120 Jackals
Like
and go
Poxwalkers.
fuck you. James, I'm looking directly at you about 120 Poxwalkers. Mr.
Well,
Terminus
yeah, well,
Estabur-
they still have that rule. It's you still have to have equal or less number of Poxwalkers than you have. I think it's Bubonic Astartes core, but it's like Plague Marines, Death Shroud, Blight Lords, and Possessed. I think also fall under that category.
Yeah, same for
Right.
World Eaters, so yeah.
So what are jackals?
It's just
Jackals are the special cultists of the World Eaters. They're kind of, think of them as the World Eaters equivalent of the, what's it called?
Zangors.
like go
Zangors,
Poxwalkers.
Zangors, and Poxwalkers. And they don't suck, which is really cool. So
Angry
for
normal guys.
yeah, for Jackals, 7 points a model. I'm pretty sure they get OBSEC. I'm pretty sure they get Blood Tithe. I don't think they get the Legion trait though, because they're not World Eaters. They're just sympathizers. So
That makes sense.
that means that's pretty good. So they don't get the +1 attack and +1 charge.
I thought it was plus one
No,
strength.
+1 attack and +1 strength. They don't get that. So their stat line
Yeah.
is weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, T3, strength 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, 6 up save. There's the Dishonored, which is the big muscly one who has strength 4.
Thick.
And there is the Jackal Leader who has 3 attacks and leadership 7.
And are these like individual units? Like, are the different Jackals, are those different units, or is that part of the squad?
That's part of the squad. So there's one big guy who's called the Dishonored. Bigger base, bigger guy, and he hits harder. And then there's the leader sergeant figure, like in every troop squad. So we have 2 upgrades, which you can take 1 per 10. They're 5 points each. We have the Skull Smasher and Dishonored, which is strength user, AP 2 damage, and doubles his attacks. So that's going to be nice and scary on him. He's going to be taking out 1 or 2 Space Marines with that. Then there's the Mauler Chainblade, which is strength +2, AP 2 damage 2, but -1 to hit. So big old Chainblade that's really hard for a normal guy to yield. And then there's a really cool thing for them because they don't have the Legion trait and they don't get the +1 strength. There's something called Jackal Stims. So basically, all of them have these backpacks on that have a whole bunch of interesting
My camera
concoctions.
turned off. Nice.
That's alright.
I'll fix this.
We have
You
Jackal
lost
stems. You know what? I'll just take
We're
it.
back.
Okay, you're back. So we have Jackal stems, which is once per game per unit. You can decide to take D3 mortal wounds on that unit, and they get +1 strength.
Is that like a points upgrade, or is that just like baked into their?
I think that's
Data
baked
sheet.
into their thing because the models themselves have the backpacks on, so I'm pretty sure that's just baked in. So
Yeah, +1
it's
strength?
cool, but you might lose 3 jackals for +1 strength.
Okay.
I mean, if you're about to make a big charge, losing 3 guys, but then having your entire squad go from strength 3 to 4 can be really good. Because a lot of
So if
times
you're
that's the
charging like
difference
Space
between
Marines or
hitting on
something,
like
and if they're probably
Yeah,
gonna die and if they're gonna probably die anyways on the return attack.
Yeah. it's the difference
So-
between hitting on like wounding on 5s versus wounding on 4s against a lot
Or
of
3 or
infantry
4s,
or
depending
4s to 3s.
on what you're playing against, which is really good. So
Yeah.
Jackals for 7 points, a lot of fun with them. They're gonna be really cool. Since I haven't decided yet. I've said that I'm gonna just play Disciples of the Red Angels, but I don't know how much I'm actually gonna lean into that. Probably gonna buy the Combat Patrol when it comes out, and then I'll play normal World Eaters. But up until then, I'll play Red Angels because it's a lot less for me to buy, and I
So
can
what
just
is
save the money.
Red Angels?
Great question. Great question. So,
Segue.
Disciples of the Red Angels. This is the way that you play a Demonkin type of style army. So, there's a couple rules with this. Basically, anything that you can think of that has demon in it, you can play. So that includes stuff from Corn Demon, I should specify. So,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Bloodthirsters, you can put those in there. Bloodletters.
Yeah.
That stuff is cool, and you can definitely see that it's intended to be like that since Angron has the Warped Locust thing. So if you can get Angron really close, you can get a squad of Bloodletters also really close. And then if they die, you also get Blood Tithe points for them as well. So it's going to be some really cool shenanigans you can do with that. Disciples of the Red Angels, since they are disciples of the Red Angel Angron, you have to have Angron. End all be all. He must be in your army if you play that. So yeah, you can bring Daemon units and you can bring Land Raiders. And that's kind of the it with that.
Wait, you can bring Land Raiders, but you can't put anything in said Land Raiders?
Yeah, you can put stuff in Land Raiders. You can put the
Like what?
Terminators in Land Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, you can't put Terminators because Terminators you can't bring. I think you can put 8-bound in there.
You can bring
Yes,
I
obviously.
believe
So
so,
you can't
'cause
bring
they-
you can't bring Jackals and Berserkers, but you can bring 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound. You can bring the Lord on Juggernaut because I guess the Juggernaut counts as a demon. You can bring most of the you can bring all of the Demon Forge engines like Mauler Fiend, Helldrake. And on that note, the new Battle Force box for the Chaos Space Marines, which has a Helldrake, a bunch of Possessed. I think that that's actually a really good box, minus the fact that the Helldrake is a flyer and flyers are currently unplayable.
Helldrake is also just unplayable. He was unplayable beforehand.
Yeah, but it's cool. You can have a fucking dragon in your World Eaters army. So.
Oh, he's very cool. Just also very unfortunate.
Trash. Very trash. So if you're into that, I think that that's a great box for that, since you get a lot of stuff that you can use. Maybe GW thought about that, which is why they released it at the same time. Another big
I looked
thing
it up on the
since you...
transport thing. The Land Raiders can't transport possessed models, but they take up 2 spaces. You can put 5 possessed, which probably are what 8-bound fall into the category of in Land Raiders.
More than likely,
So you can get
they're going to be the same
squad
thing.
of Exalted 8-bound and character or something.
Exactly.
Cool.
So, That's gonna be what that's for. 8-bound, get OBSEC in this since you don't really have any other troops choice. So
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
that's
though.
pretty
really cool.
self-explanatory why they've decided to do that.
I mean, that's a tanky troop.
The
Damn.
sad thing I'm to see is that with the units that are in the Chaos Space Marines that you can bring for World Eaters, there are... Oh, and it just paused. Alright, so our Disciples of the Red Angel were just trying to chill. For 1 CP, World Eaters units get +1 to wound when the squad is at less than half strength.
Okay. It's decent.
Pretty nice. This is going to be the one that's really... one of the ones that's really annoying. 1 CP for 8-bound to consolidate when an enemy falls back.
Bruh.
So,
Yeah.
bad for Votan, bad for everything, because most things are 6 inches. You move 6 inches back, 8-bound come right with you, and they
Literally.
just stay in combat.
That's a good counter for like a lot of shooting armies
It's
too.
But
yeah.
that's also
it's
going to
going
mean
to
that
be
like you're going to have to position them very carefully when you pile them in. Like if you charge, you pile them in, so that way, no matter what happens, if something's moving like 5 or 6 inches, it can't get away because no matter where it moves to, you'll be able to tag it with engagement range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be that's going to be crazy.
That's going to be really nasty to play against if we're playing against that.
Some poor ad
And
mech
this
player is
is the
going to
one
become a
that
victim.
Michael was kind of spoiling. For 8-bound, 1 CP, get to make a normal movement when losing a model and shooting. So you kill an 8-bound, they move 9 inches. So it's better than the D6 because 8-bound are worth so much more. I think that kind of balances
Yeah.
it out, but it's pretty crazy that it's like, hey, I picked one off in shooting. Why are they here now?
Yeah.
That seems like a good way. That seems like a really good stratagem, but also you could probably get yourself into a lot of trouble with that one if you just move them forward. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, that squad with flamers can hit them now, and they might move themselves into more trouble. Or they could just run behind cover. You could just kill one and they go, wait,
Or onto
I
an objective.
misplaced this, and then just or onto an objective because they have obsec and they count as 2
Yeah.
models. You can just like, this is mine
Oh,
now.
we're gonna just shoot them off before they charge me. Or, let's say you're 6 inches away, or you're 9. Let's say you're 9 inches away. This is the really scary part, and your opponent decides to Overwatch. They kill one in Overwatch. You
Boom.
all of a sudden make the charge because they make it. You use the CP for a 9-inch move. They're within engagement range.
Can you use it in the charge phase?
You
Yep.
can use it in
That's
any
tragic.
phase. Anytime it would die of a shooting a check. So
Fuck.
it's
Pro tip:
funny.
don't Overwatch 8-bound.
Yeah.
Unless you can kill
Overwatch
all of them.
8-bound.
Unless you can kill every single one of them, do not Overwatch 8-bound.
Nothing can do that.
Overwatch? Like what?
I don't know,
Funnily
we got
enough, they
flamers.
have a CP, which is in the charge phase. If you make sure that you're charging something that you don't want the enemy to Overwatch, you can turn off their Overwatch. So for 1 CP in the charge phase, one enemy unit can't Overwatch, can't set to defend, and gets -1 to hit in melee. So basically,
Wow.
you're coming at them, and you're so scary that they forget to shoot, and they get scared when fighting you. So
Turning
called
off set to
Terrifying
defend,
Assault.
that's a very specific rule.
Yeah, well, nobody in our groups uses set to defend, but I guess in actual play where people know how to use the rules that they've been given, unlike us,
I think I've hold steady maybe like twice.
Yeah. Then there's 1 CP for an auto advance of 6 inches for World Eaters. There is a 1 CP to ignore charge roll modifiers. So if Custodians throw a Tanglefoot grenade at you, you can just say, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna make my normal charge. And then there is 1 CP to kill an enemy in combat, and the unit doing so gets -2 leadership and -1 combat attrition for the morale phase. So I think it's incredibly niche. I'm not gonna use it that much. I'm also gonna say all this stuff that I've pretty much been reading off, I've either taken notes from Tabletop Tactics or I've gone to Aspect Tactics YouTube channel and used his very nice slides, so thank you. Yeah, so there's some really good stratagems in there that you're gonna see. The nice thing is that the list is really nice and short, so your opponent is definitely gonna know you have them. And yeah, so that's gonna be really cool. Yeah, that's pretty much all the rules for our boys in red.
Whoa, let's go. They're looking pretty solid. Kind of
Yes,
scary.
They're looking
definitely.
cool, though.
Definitely. As a World Eaters player, I'm very excited. Very excited.
Whoa. As an
Next
Elder
set.
player, I'm excited to get crushed like paper in combat. That's awesome. Just,
Same as a Space Wolves player.
yeah.
I'm the melee.
that-
I'm a super melee faction in Space Marines. World Eaters, blah. Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm just gonna play Custodians. And probably still
Yeah,
get stuffed.
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, matchups.
They're good against like any melee army, I think.
Think
Well, they're the best melee army in the
Yeah.
game.
they might struggle
Right.
against armies that have ways to like make you fight last in melee, or Space Marine Judiciaries are probably going to be a problem. Death Guard, Foul Blight
Fight
Spawn,
last.
or something like Slanesh Demons, where they can pop an army wide fight first with their Warp Storm stuff.
Yeah, they
But
also
beyond that,
even have more movement than most of the other stuff. So, although Angron and maybe 8-bound can still get the first charge, everything else is just going to get charged because the Slanesh Demons can basically make it all the way across the board. Death Guard is going to be really annoying with Contagion. And all of the other -1 shenanigans, since most of everything is damage 2 or damage 3. All of the stuff they have for anti-Terminators is going to all of a sudden become damage 2. All of the stuff they have for anti-Marines is going to become damage 1. So it's just, you're going to have to build your list in a way where you maximize attacks against Death Guard.
Yeah.
And in stuff like tournaments, it's just going to be a tough game, it seems, because obviously
yeah,
you can't
especially
make a
with
list
something
for
like
everything.
Crawlers.
Yeah.
Crawlers are going to make pretty quick work of a lot of.
Yeah.
World
Unless you
Eaters
can get
infantry.
Angron back there, because Angron can one-shot Plague Burst Crawler.
Unless you get Angron, in which case there's a lot Death Guard can do in terms of that sort of anti-tank.
How long
And
do you think Mortarion could last in combat with Anka?
If he probably can't dispatch him in the first round of melee, if it gets to second round of melee, unless you're rolling really well on invuls, he's
Warhammer
he's
Community actually did the thing that Auspex normally does, and when I saw that, I'm like,
Mm.
they just stole Auspex's video idea. What the hell?
I'll
They
look.
basically did the versus everyone, Angron versus everyone.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's on Warhammer
Angon Face the
Community.
Galaxy, yeah.
So it basically kills everything, but Mortarion kills him, but Angron comes back. So I think that's fair.
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's
yeah.
some niche things like Bloodthirster with face cap can probably stand up to him.
Abaddon can probably stand up to him because Abaddon has the face cap.
Yeah,
So-
anything with a face cap is probably going to be
Yeah,
okay.
Angron can't deal with things with phase caps, invols, really things that fight back hard against him. You're not going to want to put him into. So
So it says here, he did 43 damage to a Knight Gallant.
Yep, he killed
Yeah,
it
that
over,
does it.
He
It's
killed it over twice almost.
Makes sense.
big models with no invols are going to be like
Yeah.
easy food for Angron.
Yeah.
Kills
play-
50 guardsmen.
Yep.
Yeah, those big Tyranid bugs are gonna get eaten up by
Yeah.
Angron.
Good.
Rip.
Fuck Tyranids. Smoking on that Tyranids
Hey.
pack. I'm only salty because of how powerful they were for so long. The amount of times I just got railed by 36 mortal wounds in one phase.
Woo!
Oh shit,
Receptors.
Mortarion actually beat Angon.
Yep. But
Yeah.
then Angron comes back and finishes him off, and finishes off another unit. So I think it's fair. It would have been cool to see Angron beat Mortarion.
Well, I mean, also the points discrepancy is also he's a
Yeah.
full 100 points cheaper than Mortarion, and I think what 70 points
And he
cheaper than
gets to
Magnus.
come back.
It's the
Seriously?
thing
Bro.
Yeah.
where Angron is the most points efficient melee unit in the entirety of Warhammer 40k, because this is the closest thing that's come to killing Mortarion, and although Mortarion kills Angron, Angron's 190 points less. Yeah, and then he comes back, so
Could Angon can't ignore vulnerable saves, can he?
no, can't.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, he's not one of these units that's
We
like,
pray.
oh yeah.
I think they've added that rule way too much into the game.
Yeah, they did it with Tau, and then they're like, oh shit, I guess all of the other big anti-tank stuff has to do it now too. You get it, you get it, you get it. Votan, fuck it, we'll give it to everything. Yeah, it's...
I think definitely, especially if the team gets turn 1, like a shooting army, so like Guard or Tau, if they get turn 1, I think it's probably in their favor over a World Eater. Especially
yeah,
since
as we
like
saw.
they
Never bring a knife to a
instead of
gunfight
targeting
still
Angron,
applies.
you shoot other stuff, and then you just have to deal with Angron for the rest of the game. And like that's just one guy, you know. That's another thing. That
Well,
you
and
can-
most shooting
if
armies
Angron
do
gets
have the power to deal with Angron even then, because like something like Mortarion and Magnus, they're still really susceptible. But Angron doesn't have the -1 damage like either of them, and also doesn't have a feel no pain.
Mhm.
You can
So
give it
he's
to him
kind
though,
of like similar
two-
defensive stat line to something like a Bloodthirster or a big like Raider Demon, basically.
You can give him
Yeah.
the feel no pain though for the 2 blood type points for mortal wounds anyways.
That's
For mortal
bonus,
wounds
though.
at least, yeah.
Well, I mean, also, I saw earlier in his battle report on Play on Tabletop, he destroyed a Lehman Russ and the Rogodorn tank in the same melee phase.
Oh, good
Yep.
for him.
So, like, if you don't shoot enough to turn 1, he's just gonna get in and mess you up. So, yeah, I think you have to kill him.
Yeah, but
And is that
so,
5-up Feel No Pain, is that army wide or is that just for units?
Army
That's army
wise,
wide.
for all world
and it's only
eaters,
2 points.
so that's pretty much anything you include.
Yeah.
So that's for the whole
Yeah,
army.
they tried to. Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're
I'm just
probably
gonna
gonna-
go over pretty much all of Angron's stuff, so just we're all clear on it. 16-inch move, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 2, not that he can shoot. Strength 9, T7, 18 wounds, 12 attacks, leadership 10, 2-up save, 4-up invul. And he gets bracketed at 9 wounds. And he goes down to 8 attacks and I think a 12-inch move. So there's that. There's the sweep profile, which triples attacks at strength user, AP 3, damage 1. So that's going to be 39 attacks at strength 10, AP 3, damage 1, first fight phase.
Oh, that's nice. That's
That's just not fun for any troops. That's not fun for Custodes. That's not fun for Guard. Nothing. Then there's his slash, which is strength plus 5, AP minus 4, damage 3 plus 3, and yeah, that's destroying anything big and heavy without an invul. Strength 15, and AP -4, 13 attacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's Blood Tithe, which he gets. There's Relentless Rage, which is the +1 strength and +1 attack, which I included into all of those calculations. Then there's Wrathful Presence, and you get to choose one of the 3 auras in the command phase. So he has 3 auras that you can choose from, which I think is pretty cool.
Definitely.
One is an 6-inch aura of +1 attack to core units. That's okay. I don't think we're going to see that one all too much. 6-inch aura of reroll 1s to hit in melee for all other World Eaters units. And then there's the third one, which I think we're going to see the most, is 6 inches of no falling back. So he gets in, and if he doesn't kill everything, he gets stuck in melee, which is where he wants to be, or he just consolidates and gets stuck in melee with whatever else was trying to shoot him. So that one is almost exclusively going to be used. Then he has the Champion of the Arena, which is basically a Chapter Master thing. So he can either give it to himself, a single core unit or character unit, and that's reroll all hits. And his Warlord trait is Cancel Obsec. And obviously he must be the Warlord. So this guy is lay cringe for any army he goes against. And very fun for the user.
Yeah, I want to see
What?
Stompa versus Angron.
Stompa versus Angron.
Obvious.
I feel like the Stompa would probably have a very bad time, given that it's almost triple the points, and also
Yeah, but like it's big and funny.
Yeah, it lasts 1 turn in combat.
I will do something here then, if we want to see that actually.
So I'm noticing you said that one of the buffs was a reroll 1's aura for core. Does he not have that like built in, or does he have to choose that as one?
He has to choose that. That's not built in.
So he doesn't get the Lord aura, or like the Chaos Lord aura.
Okay. Which makes sense because most of the reason is because the people usually get that if they're a really great leader. Angron was not really a good leader. To be honest. He was
because
kind
one of the only
asshole.
few legions that hated the Primarch.
Yep, and that was mainly because when they put the Butcher's Nails in, the part that gave him kind of the Primarch aura that his legion would want to see.
Awesome.
Yeah, that shit got ripped out. So
this is the real question about the Codex, though. Does Karn still kill his own models? Is that still a thing that happens in the new book?
Yes.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. That is what we want to see.
What do you mean good?
What do you mean good? It's great. If they took it away, that would be so sad. If the betrayer no longer did any betraying.
Yes and no. Here's how I feel about it. For lore perspective, absolutely needs to be in there. For rules perspective, that kind of sucks. Sucks that he's killing his own models if they get too close. So yeah, I think it's if he's within 3 inches, he does that.
Ooh.
But as it currently stands, I haven't actually done my research properly, and I don't know what he does. I think it's pretty much the same as what he does now. So within 3 inches, I think he gives +1 strength. But also if he's within 3 inches, he kills a model. So
damn.
Well, you know, you take what you can get.
But within 6 inches, he gives reroll 1s because Karn was an actual kind of beast for the World Eaters, and people respected him. Because he's the guy that went into Angron's room when he kept on killing his own dudes. Because people would be like, "So Angron, when are you gonna kind of like help us out here?" And he's like, "What did you say?" And just kills him. And Karn went in there and said, "Can you stop killing my guys?" Angron tries to kill him and then realizes like, yo, this guy's actually like putting up a fight. This guy's kind of cool. Maybe all of my sons are not little piss babies, so...
Maybe he's the piss baby.
There's Karn lore. Well, Angron is a piss baby. I mean, he has fair reason to. His lore is incredibly sad.
And then
Yeah.
being a demon Primarch just comes with being a piss baby. Like they come hand in hand. It's a
Magnus,
prerequisite.
but like Magnus was a piss baby before too.
Yeah, so it's Mortarion.
Same
And now
with
Angron
So
too.
was
I
Angron.
guess.
Yeah.
Pachurabo,
So-
yeah.
It's kind of like you could see when GW was writing is like, these guys are all less cool. Let's make them the ones that became heretic.
Do you mean Ferris Manus?
Well, they killed him. They killed him. And
Yeah,
because they didn't want the Imperium to have everything cool, they had to get rid of Sanguinius.
Also, just cause. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably just narrative. I don't even know.
I think it's really funny that the
But
thing
it
that
was
Angron
sad.
has to be in is called Disciples of the Red Angels because Angron hated the name Red Angel because he hated Sanguinius. And Red Angel obviously is very close to Sanguinius being the angel of the Imperium, so he hated that name.
Oh, the Ankon Sanguinius fight though.
It's funny.
That was
Ooh!
good. That was a goodie.
That was a good one. That was in fact quite a good one. But yeah.
I think World Eaters just seem like everything Blood Angels is, but just like cranked up
Better.
to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're what Blood Angels wish they could be. Except Heretic.
That's the Dark
Yeah.
Angel strap. I mean,
Yeah. World Eaters are just better. They're better in melee. Their Primarch is alive. Marco's gonna watch this and kill me. Yeah. Marco, for reference, is our person. He plays two factions. He plays Iron Hands and Blood Angels. So he's part of the Dead Primarch gang.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have
I mean,
a week
technically-
ban from their fucking server because I said that.
I mean, my Primarch's dead too. Alpharius is dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
He's dead. Robo
Nah,
Drone
he's
killed
alive.
him.
Sure, bro, sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's kind of the end of the podcast here. Thank you all for joining, and if you happen to stick to the end and listen to our dog shit podcast and ramblings and through all of the crappy cuts and everything else and awkward moments, if you stuck through.
You can literally
Thank you
see
very
in my
much.
camera, like
time
the
of
light
day
go
change.
away. Yeah, like the sunset.
Yeah.
Like it's black now.
Yeah. Yeah, the rest of us. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, thanks for coming out, and stay tuned. I'm going to be making a video on a Catachan Baneblade, and there's a whole bunch of other kit patches coming down the line. You should expect another podcast if you're really excited to see another one. Next month. I can't guarantee that anybody here will be there for the next one, but we will, yeah, I don't know what that's going to be about. Yeah, expect that around reading week. I don't know if you know
I
what
don't know
reading
when
week
that is.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's what it is,
I think like mid
Halfway through
February.
February 20th.
February. And I say a month later, and then I say, yeah, expect another one in like 2 weeks. But anyways,